Hey everybody, it's time for another episode of the Race F150 build. And as excited as I always am to put these episodes out, I think this is going to be the first week where you're going to start to see a very real side of project frustration. I'm not going to dive too much into it. We don't want to dwell on negative around here, but I will always be as straight up and honest with you guys as I can on this channel. That being said, in this episode, we're going to give you details on the engine build, where that's at. Made good progress there, as well as we're going to dive into yet another version of the front suspension. So that's just kind of how it goes. So bear with, the episode kind of jumps around a little bit. I was also starting to get a little bit discouraged with just trying to film stuff that I wasn't editing and publishing. And so obviously we are now, but unfortunately we can't rewind the clock 3 years and go back and reshoot this stuff. I have edited it down as best I can, but it's a little more talky this time, trying to walk you guys through some of my parts choices that I made, and a little less time-lapsey just because I actually didn't even get as much work done in this period of time. Things just happen. You know, I got a new girlfriend at the time.
LaPointe, don't be jealous that I've been chatting online with babes all day.
I actually bought a dirt bike. And I was having fun riding with my friends because I've always loved motorcycles. And so just life was getting in the way because the project was dragging on. So anyway, let's not drag this on. Let's get in the episode. But don't forget, if that subscribe button below is still red, then you need to gray it out, subscribe to the channel. We don't need you missing out on any more of this build because from here, we're going to be adding some really cool parts. And I'd hate for you to miss it. All right, let's go.
Going to be our focus today is these upper control arms. These were independently adjustable on each side. I stole the idea from SPC. I'm cutting the whole thing off today. Uniball will get cleaned up and put back on, but this is not going to be the upper control arm. I'm actually going to move this pivot point back to pull this arm further away from the wheel. I've also cut these and tapped them in as far as they'll go. Up against that bend there. So there's been some changes, or going to be some, well, both. Anyway, this part's annoying, but it does afford me the opportunity to add in some more gussets for some more strength. So it is what it is. There's obviously an engine and transmission in there.
Okay, so to explain this block real quick, an old circle track racer down the street had it. A friend of a friend told me about it, and he sold it to me for $50 because it was sitting under a bench from years and years ago. I borrowed the Canton Road Race pan from the engine builder that he had spec'd for me, and then I bought these sweet Rough Stuff Specialties bush sleeve small block Ford motor mounts, which I would totally buy them again. They have been awesome, and they're very easy to fabricate with.
This is a giant X-brace for the frame, transmission mount, and then you can see the engine mounts. So it's kind of coming together. Yes, there is clearance for the oil pan. In fact, that's what this notch is for. This all has to get plated and filled in. I need to work on that. This has been really frustrating so far just because I've redone the lower control arms 3 times already, and then this is going to be my second full version of the upper control arms, which I guess really isn't that bad, but a lot of it's come down to as I've built it, I've learned a little bit more, and then I've built it and I've learned a lot of it more, and it's just kind of all come down to one of those things where, like, as I knew more, I knew better. So it's trial and error. That's what we're working with here. I guess that's half the fun, but I'm not gonna lie, I took a week off. The cab is actually not attached to the frame.
Let's take a pause for a second. This is a prime time for me to say, do as I say, not as I do. Zoom in on this picture and you will see that I was using a furniture dolly from Harbor Freight and a stack of bricks on each side of this probably 400-ish pound cab. And I would lift it up, shove a brick under one at a time. Super sketchy. Don't do this.
Idiot!
I made a change and we'll talk about it later on, but just know that that was not smart and you should definitely not do it that way. Support heavy objects that you're crawling under safely, please.
And I cut a hole in it to clear the valve cover for the rear of the head. Now obviously this is not a real motor, that is coming very soon. I've moved the cab back a couple inches right now just to afford me some room while I'm working in here. No, I don't have a header mocked up on this side if you're wondering, because it hits the starter. and both sides actually hit the oil pan, so that's not going to work either. But anyway, same deal on this side. Arm's got to come off, pivot point's going to come back over closer to where it needs to be, and then I guess I should show you guys the new arms. I'll kind of explain how the new control arms are going to work, because they're quite a bit different, and that's for a very specific reason. This was pointed out to me on the protouring.com forums build thread that I have running for this beast. Well, let me explain it this way. So part of the problem with this design is that each arm is independently adjustable, which seems cool in theory because it does give you a lot of freedom. And you have a pretty large range of adjustment, which is great. The problem gets to be if I just want to adjust camber, I can't do that, because as I pull each side in, it's moving this, you know, a little back or a little forward or both, depending on. So you end up changing your caster as well. So you can't make one change without the other, and you always have to have a gauge on it because there's no set standard, right? You can't just say 3 twists of this and 2 twists of this is going to get me exactly what I want. It's around there, but not like perfect. The solution is these plates are only like 21 bucks a piece, and they are beefy. The point is, if you look at this, so one of the things I didn't know when I ordered it that I'm actually really glad about is they did build in some anti-dive angle, which means this one is, I think, like almost a 1/2 inch higher than this slot. And the reason they're slotted, if you buy their matching keys, they're called keys. What it is, I'll show you one, is you have these little keys that have the measurement on them, and it's how far offset the hole is from center. You can set these in there to move the pivot point of the arm down or even up, and it's fitted in there so when you bolt it in, it's completely secured. And so I have a set for each side, and what that does is it holds this. Now, this is a Joe's Racing product. Some of you are probably familiar with them. They do a lot of circle track stuff. This is their steel arm, and I gotta tell you, it does not look this beefy in pictures. So I got the steel version with concerns of strength. I think the truck would blow up before this thing would even bend. So this is gonna work great. Now, the way this is set up is you have dual ball bearings in each side here. So these rotate really smoothly. The cool thing about these is, as you can see, there is a slot on both sides. So this one actually, I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up very well, it has a machine groove. With them, they have a similar set of keys that are actually really nice and labeled well. And their keys all have their measurements, so I got a set for each side. And what that does is it sets, I'll kind of show you like this way. You know, say that we have some anti-dive set up there, but I need more caster. Well, I can move this back using those keys to offset the hole either way. And you only need one, because when you tighten down the bolt, it holds itself. This is just to keep it from wanting to vibrate or walk loose. You know, obviously if your bolts are tight, that little key is more than sufficient to locate you. But one of the other things I should point out too is that you get these shim plates, and these are varying thicknesses. And you can see they're just slotted, so the idea is that you'll just loosen up the bolts if you need, and you can slide these in there, right? And then tighten the bolts back down. So here is basically a full setup with 6 degrees of anti-dive that I dialed in. So this is essentially going to be what I start off with when I'm setting the truck up. It's a really actually pretty viciously simple setup. The point of it, I can change any one setting without altering another. So unlike screwing the tubes that are making the top of the spindle go all over the place, if I just want to change camber, I loosen the bolts, slide in the plates, the shim plates, and tighten it back up, and I've added that much. The point of this is it's quickly consistent. That's the word I was looking for. I can always get back to the same setting that I know is accurate, because I'll always know what it takes to get there. There's no guesswork, there's no needing a gauge or anything to check 3 different things as you move one arm. Really, really, really simple. So basically I'm over-explaining the point of this. It needed to be easier. Yeah, so right now I gotta cut off the upper arm, which is gonna sting a little bit because there's a lot of work there. And then actually probably before I put anything new on there, I'm gonna go ahead and work on modifying that lower arm there.
like to interrupt this week's broadcast to bring you a merch plug, because why not? It's real short and simple. Hoodies are out. If you didn't know that, this is obviously the team color hoodie. We've got 4 options, just like the t-shirts. They're super cozy. I would not be caught outside this time of year as it really gets cold. There's no way. Oh, I'll see myself out. But wait, there's more. No, it's just an idea. So the guy that makes the shirts and hoodies actually sent me a test piece mug, I guess. I think they're pretty cool. It's just a simple logo on a white coffee mug. I wasn't really sure if you guys would want these, so do me a favor. If this is something you're interested in, they're not going to be very expensive. I'll find out exactly from him what the price point needs to be. Drop me a comment down below or shoot me an Instagram message if you want me to offer these on a website. I'm thinking about doing these because I'm also thinking about doing a giveaway. But that's all we'll say about that. Let's get back into this week's upload. There's going to be a little jump in progress here because I forgot to turn this camera on, so my bad. I made the upper control arms and did some other shit. This is the passenger side. It looks kind of different because it should. I moved this pivot point back and that pivot point a little inboard, tighter. The idea being that that gave me almost an inch more of clearance to the tire to this arm, so that should be plenty there. I moved this mounting point in a little bit more because we can't have as much back spacing as I originally thought we could on our wheels. Not a big deal. So now that's tacked back in. None of this is permanent weld, it's all tacked. And then this is the new bits and pieces that I got for the control arms. So you can see here they are. This is just with a clamp to kind of hold this down onto the truck. It's not in perfect position or anything, but you can get the idea. I've added a little downward angle to the main uniball cup, or sleeve I guess it is, and that's to try and combat the upward angle taken away. So it looks like it's at an extreme, but this actually needs to drop down a little. So the arms themselves are together enough to put together, and the bottoms are adjusted to where they need to be. But then, obviously this is going to get positioned and everything like that, so you get the idea. Anyway, I'm going to play with this for a little bit. There's no sense in you guys sitting here watching this, but I want to kind of check all my measurements and everything, see how everything is jiving with each other. To give you guys a bit of an engine update, I went down to Duffee Motorsports who built the motor. You can see the stock block was looking gorgeous after machine work and cleanup. And then I got to see the Scat forged 4-inch crank for the first time, which has been awesome as well. And then my RHS ASCAS 205 port heads that he then went in and did some beautiful handwork to really prep them and just make them flow perfectly. He did flow test them, but I don't remember what they came out to. He's got a whole flow bench in there. One-man operation, does great work. And all of this was so that way I could run the Holley High Ram designed for the small block Ford if you didn't know about it. We're going to have to go ahead and wrap it up there for this week. Like I said, it kind of skips around a little, but hey, information about the engine build is always fun. Bear with me on details on that because I think not next week, but the week after will be the upload where we'll really dive in depth on the finished product of the engine that I got from Duffee Motorsports. So bear with me on that. Don't forget, subscribe, right? If it's grayed out, you're good to go. If it's red, red is bad. Go down, subscribe to the channel so that way you don't miss any more of our uploads or updates. If you want to stay up to date with us on events and happenings in real time as it stands, and then of course future uploads where I'll announce them, link to Instagram is down below. That's always going to be your best resource if you're looking for merch or parts to build your own OBS Ford or anything like that. Links are all down in the description below. And then next week, to give you a preview of next week's episode, we've got more suspension work coming. We're going to make some fairly significant changes and really start working towards the final version of the suspension that became the prototype for our suspension kits. But anyway, that's for next week. Thanks guys, appreciate you watching. Can't wait to see you again.